And greetings and welcome to the QCast. This is season 3, episode 40. And in this, we're going to call the season finale. Now, there's not really a big off season in the QCast. I mean, season 4 will start in a couple weeks or maybe a week, but we got to have a starting and stopping point. We're going to call this the season finale. Proud to have done 40 episodes in season 3. Thanks to everyone who's followed along. And really excited for the gentleman that's going to close out season 3 here. We have a lot to talk about. And really excited to have Jared Fleming, who's the brand new head coach of the UT Dallas Comets with me. Jared, we've both been busy lately and trying to set this up. I know that things have been a little nuts on your end the first few weeks of the new gig. How's everything going for you?
It's going well. It's been an exciting time. Obviously, getting to take over the program. Um, I played at UTD for 4 years. I got a grad degree at UTD. I've been the assistant for. I was 8 years. Last 8 years, I've been the assistant. So I've been a UTD guy for going on 17, 18 years now. So it was very exciting getting the opportunity. And it was definitely a whirlwind. It was kind of late in the year. It was mid-July where it all sort of took place. So we had a few weeks to kind of get things off and rolling. My new assistant technically starts on Monday. He's been sort of in and out, trying to move down and everything the last couple of weeks. So that's been something I've been working on. Obviously, the Division II change has been a lot of topic conversation for us on campus last 3-4 weeks as well. So it's been a whirlwind, but it's been exciting. Our kids got back last week. I'm excited to have them back on campus and getting to see them around the office and everything has been great. So it's been a good start. It's going to be a good start.
Yeah, talk about a crazy summer for the Comets. First it was Coach Butterfield retiring,
Yeah.
and then it's Coach Fleming gets the job, and then it's, oh, by the way, we're leaving for D2. So I'm interested in all of that. I want to talk through all of that with you. First, I want to start with Coach Butterfield. Terry built such a consistently great program at UT Dallas, like a team that was always competitive. A lot of NCAA tournaments. I remember when you were a player, you were in the Elite Eight. You were, I think,
Yeah.
in the Sweet 16 the year after that.
Mhm.
Obviously, you guys have had such a strong program, but what are your thoughts on Coach Butterfield and his 23 seasons at UT Dallas?
Yeah, I mean, you said it. He built the program from the ground up. So we are starting the 25th year of college athletics at UTD. So we're a very young program. So you just said he did 23 years of that. We're starting here 25. So he is the program for
Right.
all intents and purposes. He's just an unbelievable person and an unbelievable coach. His attention to detail, the way he held guys accountable for little things that, I think there were times as a player where you definitely, kind of rolled your eyes. Like that stuff doesn't matter. It's a little bitty thing, but those little bitty things add up to to success and winning over a 23-year career at UTD and then 10 more at Virginia Wesleyan before he came to UTD.
Right.
So he's an unbelievable person. His work ethic is unreal. He would be in the summertime grinding film and stuff, which I'm sure a lot of guys do. They're successful as him, and that's part of the reason he is so successful. Um, you know, we've had I think one losing season since like 0203, something like that. And that was a year that we ended up starting three freshmen. I think we finished like 13 and 14 or something, or 12 and 14. Ended up winning like 9 of our last 11 and getting to the semifinals of the conference tournament, anyways. And that's the only year he hasn't won more than like 17 games in that entire
Yeah.
stretch. So the consistency is unbelievable. He's really put us on the map. Really, we went from being a school with literally no athletics to a program that is in the mix every year for
Right.
conference championships, NCAA tournament bids, regional rankings. We're in that conversation more often than not, and it's kudos to him because everything we've done has been built on him. So.
You mentioned you played for the Comets, and in 2009 you guys get all the way to the Elite Eight. I believe you were at John Carroll. Do I
Yep,
have
we're
John? You're
John
right.
Carroll. We played Capital in the Sweet 16, beat them, and then played Guilford in the Elite Eight. And funny story, we beat Guilford by 15-ish in the regular season already that year. So we felt really good going into it. I think we had a 10-point lead with 4 or 5 minutes left. And they have a kid, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head now, but he was unbelievable. He was an All-American guard for him. He hit a step through between me and you, traveled. Go back, look at the tape. But he hits an unbelievable shot, falls down at the buzzer to send it to overtime. They beat us
Wow.
in overtime. A heartbreaker for us for sure.
And that experience must have been pretty incredible. I mean, you were a few minutes, a few seconds away from going to the Final Four.
Yep.
You lose to a great Gilbert team in overtime, but that must have been a pretty incredible run. You had a really talented crew that season. What was that journey like through the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, it was incredible. The thing is we really had not had a ton of high level success yet. They won the conference tournament in 2005, but it was one of those deals where they won the last game to get the 8th seed just to get in the tournament. Got hot at the right time. Those things happen all over the country every year, right? But that was not a consistent theme of we're always there yet. We'd won
Right.
17, 18 games the year before. We thought we were pretty good. We had everybody back, and it really just sort of exploded. I'm not sure we ever knew how good we were until we got to the end and we realized that we were good enough to do some of that stuff. The journey was incredible. We beat Mississippi College in the final that year of the conference tournament. For the old head D3 guys, Mississippi College was one of the powerhouses down here. I mean, they were the best team in the ASC for a 10, 15-year stretch until they went Division II. We beat them in the final. That was a huge deal at our home floor. First time we'd ever hosted the tournament. First round of the tournament, we were in position to host. We're number one team in the South Regional. Okay, we don't host because we had already given our gym to a robotics fighting competition.
Oh man, that
that
hurts.
was taking our gym for that weekend.
That's tough.
So it was tough. So we never done that before. Now we reserve the conference tournament or the NCAA tournament weekends right now to make sure just in case we're
Absolutely.
in the position. So we ended up getting shipped to Trinity. I think they won the SCAC. I don't remember if there were 2 or 3 in the region, but they're obviously very, very good. We beat them in the second round, advanced to the Sweet 16, and we had not played Trinity before. That was not a game we were playing every year. So we'd heard about them. We knew they were one of the top teams in Texas for a standard of years. So we beat Mississippi. We go beat Trinity. We get shipped up to John Carroll. That was an unbelievable experience. We never heard. Most of our guys never been to Cleveland. Most of our guys never heard of Capital or John Carroll. We knew Guilford, obviously, we haven't played them, but 2 great programs. And it was an unbelievable experience. Both teams we played had All-Americans on their team. We actually did not have a first-team All-Conference player on that team, which in hindsight seems crazy. But we were very balanced. We had, I think, 7 guys between like 10 and 12.5 points. We were just a very balanced group. And when you were that balanced, nobody gets the recognition they probably deserve individually. So we had 1 all-division player, a second-team all-conference guy, a second-team all-division, and a couple honorable mentions. That was it. And we were really, really good defensively. We played together. We shared the ball. We were tough. And it was an unbelievable experience. So and we still talk about it all the time. We hang out. Those guys are all very, very close still. And it's an awesome thing.
The next season, I think you and I would have been at the same sectional. I think you were were you on the coaching staff the year you were getting your master's degree at UTD?
Nope. So I was, but the second year, the Sweet 16 was my senior year. I was back.
Okay, you were back at that one. So that was when you guys ended up playing Stevens Point and we played Carthage.
Yep.
And then we lost to Stevens Point in the game to go to the Final Four. But that you were on that UTD team as well, correct?
I was the point guard on that team. Yeah. So that year we were also obviously very good. We lost our starting wing, who was the only perimeter returner from that Elite 8 team, broke his thumb right before Christmas, missed the rest of the season. We lost our starting 4-man in the conference championship game to a torn ACL, who was a returning starter from the Elite 8 team as well. So we were basically about 6 deep at that point, going into Stevens Point, and they were really good. They won a national title that year. They had the Moses kid that was phenomenal. They were really good. So that was, you were there, I guess. So that atmosphere was insane. That place was packed. It was rocking. It was an unbelievable experience as well. I think we could have probably gone Elite 8 or Final Four that year if we hadn't run into, matchup wise, we hadn't run into Stevens Point because they won a national title that year for a reason.
Yeah, and that was a great Stevens Point team. I just remember like every guy listed on the roster was like 6'4", and you're like, oh,
Yep.
they're not big. And then you play them and you're like, holy crap, they're big. They're big everywhere.
Yeah.
They play smart. So that was an amazing pointers team. And I was definitely up there that weekend watching my Titans play. And I
Mhm.
remember watching you guys play. Bottom line, I mean, Coach Butterfield, the Comets have really had a great track record. So when the job opens up, I know that just as a guy that's down here in Dallas and goes to a lot of your games and is involved in Division 3, I was getting a lot of text like, "Do you think that's a great job? Should I go after that job?" And so I know how many people you must have had to compete with anytime a job opens in Division 1, 2, 3, NAI, JUCO, any job that opens, it is crazy competitive.
Yeah.
What was your approach? I know that you didn't just sit there saying, "Well, I'm the assistant, I'm the lead guy, or I'm the top candidate." How did you approach that whole job selection process?
Sure. So I'll tell you this, you talk about how crazy it is. We had more applicants for that job in 3 days than we have ever had for any job we've ever posted.
Wow,
So, so to give you an idea to back up what you're saying, and
crazy.
obviously there's plenty of guys that aren't qualified in that group probably, and plenty of guys who are very qualified. So, very competitive process. I think the big thing I leaned on was my experience at UTD, understanding the landscape when it comes to recruiting Texas, recruiting high academic kids to UTD. I think that was a big deal in my favor. UTD is unique. We are a big school. We're a public school. So in most places in Division 3 for sure, a lot of smaller schools. You
Yeah,
work very closely with admissions. We know you have JV programs and we bring in 7 or 8 guys every year to make sure admissions is getting the right numbers. That's a common theme at D3. Did that at Franklin, did that at Shriner before. We don't get any of that at UTD. Our admissions literally does not care. We call over admissions and they're like, why are you calling me? Don't I'm doing my job here. So it's just a unique situation. It's a great school and it's a great place to recruit to. So don't get me wrong, but it's just unique. So I leaned on that heavily. The other thing I leaned on is the alumni piece of it and being an alumni and having the support of the alumni.
yeah,
I worked hard and to be honest with you, Coach Butterfield worked really, really hard at reaching out to, 20 years of alumni to call, email, send letters of support to our athletic director, our associate athletic director who was doing the search and supporting me and telling
right,
them, that they felt like I was a key piece of the fabric of UTD basketball going back, 15 years, and that they supported me in that position. I think that helped. And don't get me wrong, like you said, I didn't just sit there. I put together a plan, a 5-year attack plan with how we're going to do things. We had not announced Division 2 yet, which was a whole nother wrinkle in the whole thing.
sure,
But I obviously knew that was possible, so I really attacked in the process. How I would approach the D2, what the plan's going to be, so that they felt good about, okay, we are making this move, but he has a plan of what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. So that was something I really pushed as part of that process too. But it was a nerve-wracking journey, to tell
I'm
you the
sure.
least. Um, I felt good about it. I've been here a long time. We'd had those conversations with Coach Butterfield about the succession plan and everything, but you just never know until it's done. You
Right.
just never know. So, but fortunate and feel very blessed that it worked out.
Yeah, and exciting times ahead for you guys. And before we kind of get into the move to D2 and stuff, let's just talk about last season a little bit.
Mhm.
You guys, everyone, I think most that watch this know that I live in Dallas, and I live 10 minutes from UT Dallas
Yeah.
campus. So I have two local D3s that I try to split my time between UT Dallas and University of Dallas,
Mhm.
and love going to both places to watch games. I probably went to 7 or 8 of your home games last year. You guys had a really good team
Yeah.
last season, and I feel like you were as good as just about everyone in the tournament, right? You had that strength of schedule problem at the end of the day
Yeah.
that left you on the bubble, and you had that tough game down at Mary Hardin Baylor. I remember watching the stream. You led the whole thing,
Yeah.
and I don't know what the score. It feels to me like you were up 10 with 2 minutes to go or something. I don't know. It may not have been quite that, but talk about just that the Mary Hardin Baylor game down there, because I think that was kind of it was basically a de facto conference championship regular season game.
Yeah.
That was a great game. They had a great finish, but what are your recollections of that one down there in Belton?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. We led the whole time. We were up significantly for part of the game. Um, it was the most frustrating loss we had last year, and probably one of the more frustrating we've had in the last 5 6 years, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because we were up and we had it in control. To be very frank, they turned the heat up on us. They got into us full
Yeah.
court. They really pressured us, and we made some mistakes. Our 2 point guards last year that really played the point were both sophomores, and they're both very talented. They're both back, and they're going to be really good players for us. But I think that Josiah Johnson, who's an unbelievable player, who's
Yeah.
going to be back
Incredible.
as a fifth-year guy. Kyle Wright, who's another fourth-year guard for them. They really got into us. I think we probably got a little too cautious. And instead of breaking it and beating it and going and scoring, we tried to come back, reset it, and burn some clock. And then we ended up turning it over again. And it really – it was really the decider was late in the game. We did not handle the pressure in a very good way. And that was the decider. And like you said, if we win that game, we probably host the conference tournament.
Oh yeah.
We're the 1 seed. We probably have a great claim to the at-large bid regardless because of that. And it gives us obviously, I mean, a better chance to win the conference tournament when
Yeah.
you're at home playing the 4 versus a neutral playing East Texas in the semifinal, who was equally as good. I mean, I think there were 3 really good teams in our
Absolutely.
league last year that probably all deserved the NCAA tournament. And Hardin Simmons is right there behind us at
Yep.
4th. But that top tier was really good, and that game was the one we needed. We needed that one. And like you said, we
Yeah.
didn't have enough great wins. Our strength of schedule wasn't great, and we needed one more at least. So,
And you had 3 teams at the top in particular that were unbelievable. You had Mary Hardin Baylor won 16 regular season games. You guys won 15, and East Texas Baptist won 14.
mhm.
And I went down to Belton to watch that first round. And I mean, East Texas Baptist, who I had not seen all year,
Yeah.
they were unbelievable. Like
Yep.
they were as good as I felt like they were a national championship contender. Mary Hardin Baylor obviously was. They went deep. You guys played those guys and beat them. You beat ETBU, I think at their place, didn't you? Or you beat
Yeah,
them
we
at
did.
least.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did.
So very balanced at the top. But the ASC itself, and then you mentioned you had Hardin Simmons, and of course there's Laterno, and I think you
Mhm.
guys went down and maybe who got beat? I think Mary Hardin Baylor got beat at Concordia. So there was all kinds of
Yeah.
balance. But the league itself, most people in Division III tend to be up north and used to be, I used to be up there in the north in Illinois, and I didn't know anything
Sure.
about Texas D3, but I do now. And would you agree the ASC is incredibly underrated when you start talking about the best leagues in the country?
Yeah, 100% agree. And obviously, somebody's gonna be sitting here watching this QCast going, this guy's biased because he's been in Texas the whole time. But it's an unbelievable league. ETBU is going 6'9", 6'10", 6'7", big, strong,
Yeah.
all JUCO guys. They got a fifth-year guard who was an all-conference D1 JUCO guy, 6'2" wing. I mean, they're big and athletic. Obviously, you've talked about Mary Hardin. I know you've had them on, and the league's incredible. We always felt like and have felt like if we can get out of the league, we can make a run.
For
It's
sure.
getting out of the league
Yeah.
that's a gauntlet. Our league should be a 2 to 3 bid league, not every year, but most years at least 2, if not a third. The issue is finding the SOS is really, really difficult.
It is.
And that's always going to hold it back for us. It's just there's nobody to play. There's just nobody to play
And when
down
you play
here.
18, you play 18 league games.
Yep.
So that's a lot of league games.
It
And
is.
then the travel, so last year, like Cliff did a great job of he went and he played all those games in California and the Pacific Northwest.
Yep.
And this year he's coming up to our place.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what you have to do, because when you have limited amount of non-conference games and you have the geography that you guys have here, it is really hard in leagues like that. To another extreme, the MIAC up in Minnesota
Mm-hmm.
has been in the same boat. Now they're going to limit their conference games, which is going to help them. But scheduling's tough is the bottom line, right? It's
Yeah,
hard to build up that SOS when you're in certain leagues.
yeah, it really is, and it's not that we don't think the NESCAC or the CCIW, those places are really good leagues. They are. But they can schedule in a way that always gives them an advantage. That's
Yeah.
a challenge because they can drive to places,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, on day trips to go get a Stevens Point or a Whitewater or,
Hmm.
or some of those schools in the Northeast. There's a ton of them. The NESCACs can play the different
Yeah.
UAAs, et cetera. We can take one trip a year and we try to. So this year we're going to California Lutheran. We're going to play Cal Lu, who brings everybody back. And they won that league's tournament last year, played in the NCAA tournament. We're also going to play Tufts out there.
That's
Tufts is
cool.
going out to California, so we're getting a NESCAC school on the schedule, which is obviously a difficult thing to do for us. So we are trying to do some of that stuff. We went to Rochester last year, and obviously they were great. Um, the issue is the other team we played in that tournament, I think, won 2 games,
Right.
and we beat them by 40, but um, we didn't get the SOS we hoped by going to Rochester,
Right.
because Rochester was that, but the second game was not. Now we beat Rochester. We played Trinity. That would have been, but we lost Rochester.
Right.
So we got to do a better job. Down here, if you're going to be in that boat, you've got to have the SOS to have a chance.
Your Cal Lut trip this year, I'm trying to figure, is that the same? So like Illinois Wesleyan's going to Cal Lutheran to play Redlands and Cal Lutheran.
Uh-huh.
Is that the same tournament? Is that a late December thing, or is that another Cal Lut tournament? Do you know?
So I think it's separate. The coach at Kalu, Coach White, has done a great job. He has figured out, like many of us have, that the schedule's everything, and you're never gonna have a chance if you don't schedule. If
Right.
you lose those games, probably not getting in. But if you don't play them, you're never gonna have a chance. So,
Right.
I know he's got obviously Titans coming out, but he has somebody else coming out with Iwu who's good. But he has us coming out in Tufts, and it's a 3-team sort of round robin deal. So we're
Gotcha.
playing Kalu, then Tufts plays Kalu. So
That's cool. Yeah,
it's right after Christmas.
people are doing a great job of scheduling, and I think the tournament we're going to is right before Christmas, so it is a
Gotcha.
separate thing. But yeah, scheduling's tough, and it takes some travel if you're in region 10 or some of these other regions where it's just you're on these islands. Your team last year, and then we'll talk about kind of the move to D2, but I thought Kyle Piersky was about as good as any guard as I saw last year, and I saw a lot of good ones. Obviously Josiah Johnson from the same league, and just there's a whole bunch of great guards in Division 3. What I liked about Kyle Piersky is he really could do it all. Like, he was super athletic,
Mm-hmm.
and yet he was a great shooter, and he could get into the paint and get to the basket. You only had him for 1 year. He was a grad transfer, but he had a monster year, like
Yeah.
19.6 rebounds a game, had some assists. You will miss him last year. He was, or this year, he was really a stud for you, wasn't he?
Yeah, we will miss Kyle. We were really excited to get Kyle. So he played 4 years at Southwestern University. Connor Kirkendall's coach down there did a great job with him. And when Coach Kirkendall actually called us, which is, I would say, maybe not the most common thing with the portal and everything. But Southwestern didn't have grad programs, so it was never going to be an option to stay. He wanted to play. He wanted to get a master's degree in business analytics, and we have
You have a
a
great
top 20
program.
program
Yeah.
in the country for business analytics for grad programs. So he was looking at us and Arkansas. His dad played at Arkansas, so he's kind of messing with them with the walk-on type spot. But he wanted to play. He wanted to
Yeah.
compete. He wanted a chance to win something. So that's why he chose us. We were obviously very excited to get him. We knew he was good. He'd been an all-conference guy in the SCAC. I don't know that we knew he was as good as he was. The way he shot the three, I think he was
Yeah.
40% plus from three. The way he did other things, the way he rebounded the ball, those were things that maybe we didn't know he was going to bring to us as much. And yeah, he was incredible. He was an incredible asset for us. He's an unbelievable kid. Works really hard. He's already got his own business he's working on with his brother, that they're already doing a ton of stuff with, and that's why he's doing the grad degree to help with that. So unbelievable kid, unbelievable person, and we're gonna definitely miss him. So replacing a guy like that and his scoring and his ability just to win you a game by himself when he had an on night is going to be tough to replace for us.
Other guys that were on the floor a ton last year. So Persky's gone. I think Hunter Stevens and Will Isaac are both gone, and maybe
Mhm.
James Curtis. Those guys
Yep.
have all moved on, correct?
Those are our 4 guys we graduated. Yes, sir.
Okay, but you return a ton.
Yep.
So Luke Kaiser, Austin Page, Nick Donnelly, Donovan Suter, Rob Wade, among
Mhm.
others. I'm sure you've got some recruits coming in that you're
Sure.
counting on, but you got to feel pretty good about the upcoming season because although you lost a ton of talent, you were playing a deep team, and a lot of those guys are coming back this year.
Yeah, we were probably 10, 11 deep most games last year, which is honestly not super common for a UTD team in general. Um, it's interesting because it's not we're not old. You graduate 4 seniors, you expect to take kind of a step back, but when you look at what we have right now, Luke Kaiser's played a ton. He was the freshman of the year in the conference
Yeah.
2 years ago. Nick Donnelly is a kid who came on unbelievably well in the second half. He led us and scored in the Mary Hardin game. He's a kid I think that can really take a big step for us. Suter missed the entire first 17 games. I looked at his stats the other day. We were talking about it with him. He went like 1 for 12 in his first like 5 games from 3. Getting back in the mix, all that stuff. His last 6 games, he shot like 45% from 3 and averaged like 12 points off the bench. He's a guy who can really score coming back. He's our only senior. Right. So we're really excited to get him back in the mix full time. Rob Wade had some huge moments last year. And then Austin Page, who's the sophomore, he's as talented as any big kid in the conference outside the Derry Moore kid down at ETBU. He's got all the skills in the world to be as good as he wants to be. He actually grew, I would say, 3 to 4 inches from
I
the
was
time
going
we
to ask
started
you,
recruiting him.
I wrote down on my thing, I was writing down returners, and I see Austin Page listed as 6'10". And I was going to say, is that a typo? Because he was listed at 6'7". So he's grown. He is 6'10" now. Is that right?
We got to February and we're standing in a circle and we look at him next to Will Isaac, who we listed at 6'10", who's probably 6'9.5" with shoes. Right? And Austin was taller than him. And we're like, when did you get taller than Will? So we measured again, he was at 6'10". So he grew 3 inches at some point between senior year of high school to into last year. So yeah, that's a legit. He's 6'10" now, which is awesome.
If Austin Page is 6'10", I mean, he is a very skilled big guy. I guess you'd call him a 4. You could play him at the 5, but he is a really skilled big man. And 6'10" is a lot different than 6'7". And so yeah, you guys are ready to roll this year, and that kind of brings us to the move to D2. And obviously diehard D3 fans like me hate to lose you guys in Division 3. I think I understand the move though. As I always came back from games and thought, as you're such a unique Division 3 school. Mm-hmm. You remind me of the Wisconsin schools, the WIAC, in that you're an enormous university. You're 31,000 students plus. You're just a big school. Most of D3 is, schools with 1,800 enrollment, that sort of thing.
Sure.
But maybe in your words, and I know this wasn't your decision, this was your administration and your athletic department. What is your take, Jared, on why the move to Division 2? Because as long as you guys have had athletics, as the whole time since 1998, you've been NCAA Division 3. It must have been a tough call, but what's your sense of the why?
It was a tough call. We love Division 3. People have been asking us for 15 years if we're going to go up. What's the plan? And we've always told people we love Division 3. Our administration, our coaches, have worked in Division 3. We've played Division 3. Our president has openly said that he loves the idea of competing. When you talk about the great academic schools in the country, most of them are Division 3. Not University of Texas and Wisconsin and Virginia. Even the Power Fives, but we also know the Chicagos and the WashU's and the Carnegie Mellons and the NESCACs and Illinois Wesleyan is a great school, right? So there's so many great academic schools that when you look at the top 100 academic schools in the country, it's basically D1s and D3s.
Right.
We are an extremely highly academic university. We're the 3rd best ranked academic public school in the state of Texas. We have that academic background. We were an engineering research school first before we added freshmen. So we've held true to that academic standard. So we like competing in those circles. That's what we've always wanted to compare to. So we love Division 3. We're not going out of, hey, we're ready to get out of here, any of that stuff. We love Division 3. I think a lot of people are sad about the fact that we're leaving, what in some ways is still the most pure level of athletics, kids that aren't getting paid or aren't getting NIL money, aren't getting scholarships, they're just playing. And so we're gonna miss that. I think the timing was right. As I know has been talked a lot, but by the D3 hoops guys, the football guys have been all over this.
Yep.
The ASC has fallen apart.
It is.
We had 16 teams in ASC 15 years ago, and we were at 2 18 divisions. We've obviously got a long way from there. But when we lost McMurray, that was sort of the first domino. So Ross obviously announced D2. So we said, okay, we have 8.
Right.
Let's go try to find 2 more. Let's see if we can't pry somebody else off the SCAC or something, right? Well, then when the announcement came mid-May that Ozarks and Concordia were also going to the SCAC, that left us with 6, and we knew that was a problem. The NCAA rule to have a automatic bid is 6 teams, but that's actually 6 teams in that sport. The rule is actually 7 conference members, but we only have 6. So after 25, 26, the ASC would no longer have an automatic bid.
Right.
We didn't have a commissioner for 3-4 months. There never felt direction. The ADs kind of had gotten together. We reached out to people, and we didn't feel like there was a lot of traction going. And we felt like, what do we need to do for us? What's the best option? Obviously, if you look at the Coast to Coast League, they're obviously need members. There are other things we talked about. But the D2 league in Texas is one of the best D2 leagues in the country.
It is.
The Lone Star Conference will be the 13th or 14th member in the state of Texas. Talk about travel. You talk about budgets. You talk about the ability to play people close to you. You got Dallas Baptist down the road.
Yep.
UT Tyler's out in East Texas. UT System. You got UT Permian Basin. You got Texas A&M International, Midwestern State. You got people that fit what we look like.
Right.
Public schools in bigger areas. Some other sister schools as far as the UT System goes. It just made more sense, I think, when we realized we didn't have a home in Division 3.
Right.
If we had found more people in the ASC, if we had, been able to survive with the 8-10 teams, I don't know that we would have done it, at least not this summer. We felt like we sort of got, we got kind of pushed that direction. So the timing felt right. We're fortunate Lone Star wanted us and had an opportunity to go. And, we're excited about it. Obviously excited for the new challenge and everything. Sad about leaving Division 3. Unsure about some of the challenges that lie ahead at a different level. A lot of new rules I'm trying to learn.
Right.
The compliance meetings and stuff. But, that's why we did it. It just sort of got to a point where our options were limited. And that's what our admin thought was the best move for us.
So in terms of how this all works, so this season, I think is the start of your provisional period.
No.
Is that correct? Or
No.
when does it tell me how the logistics work?
Sure. So this year we are full scale Division 3. So we are still tournament eligible, conference championship eligible, all our games count, everything's, we're Division 3 this year. There's a timeline with the NCAA. So you cannot apply. You have to apply by February something. And then in July, they officially announce who gets accepted to whatever move they made. Obviously, we feel very good about getting accepted just with UT System School, et cetera. So we are getting the stuff in order right now to apply in February to hopefully be announced in July. Next year, honestly, we don't know what next year looks like. It will be the first year of our provisional year. I'm confident we will not be NCAA tournament eligible, but we may still count as D3 games for people. We may still play an ASC schedule. We may not. It depends on a lot of things well above my head as far as the NCAA making decisions and waivers and all sorts of things. So we don't really know. When people reach out to me about scheduling, I'm like, I don't really know what we count as next year yet. So next year's going to be weird, to be honest. That's 24-25. That's year one. 25-26 will be in the Lone Star on their schedule, I'm pretty sure, and being a full D2 member. So
recruiting wise, it's really an interesting place that you're in, because you can't give scholarships until you're officially Division 2. So I guess that's the great thing about being a really top-notch D3 currently, because you and I both know if you would have played a schedule in the Lone Star Conference last year, you would have been competitive, right?
Mhm.
You had a good enough team to be competitive with your D3 guys. And then moving forward, though, it really changes probably how you recruit, right? And who you target. What's your initial assessment of how your personnel changes as you get into Division II versus Division III?
Yeah, I think that's something we're still obviously working on. We hired an assistant named Kyle McElroy. He has been at Newman University in MIAA and at DBU as a GA, which is both Division II schools. So, he's going to help with that process because he has only recruited Division II kids. So he doesn't have to, maybe trick himself a little bit into like, what's probably right.
Yeah,
I think our academics aren't changing. We're not getting any exceptions still. We're not getting academic aid as far as like helping with that. Oh, slide this kid in. We're still not getting that. So we're still going to recruit high academic kids. I think that we want to be true to who we are as far as, 4 out, 5 out basketball, skilled kids, etc. I just anticipate those kids being a little bigger, a
yep,
little more athletic, a little more physical. That's the kids we've had on campus so far. I would say are just a little better athlete overall, I would say. And that's sort of the challenge. I think that we're going to find ourselves recruiting against the Air Force and the Naval Academy in those places,
absolutely.
the Ivy League schools, the kid who picks up the 1 or 2 offers from the Patriot League that we thought we might be able to get. And then a few other D2s that are high academic as well, like Colorado School of Mines, which is a great engineering school. They've probably got 3 kids we tried to recruit over the years that maybe we can convince them to stay in Texas now. So it's definitely changing. We're definitely going to have to recruit just a bigger kid. That league in Lone Star is so physical. It's a grown man's league,
Right, it is.
and we've got to be able to physically handle that. But like you say, I don't think a lot of the kids, Kyle Porsche, Will Isaac, Luke Kaiser. I don't think these guys can't go to that league and just be overwhelmed. I think they can go compete in that league.
They would be fine.
So we just gotta, try to find a little bit better than what we have, and continue to work really hard in recruiting like we always have. And the first year is going to be wonky because all the
Yeah.
challenges I just told you. When I lay that out for a parent and his parent, or a parent and his kid, and they're kind of looking at you like there's a lot of unknowns here, coach. You're kind of like, I know, I don't have all the answers. So, it may take us a couple of years, honestly, to get the higher level of kid we think we can get in 3-4 years. But we're gonna try and we're gonna work really hard at it. And we still got a great school. We're still a big school in Dallas. Somebody wants to come here, so we'll find them.
Well, when I thought you were still Division III, I've been trying to get my guy Coach Rose to get into DFW for a few years, and we finally plucked a kid out of JP2 there, and so I was looking forward to trying to make you guys work for some of these kids just a little bit more. But now that you're D2, I think we're fishing in different ponds, my friend.
Yeah.
But well, I tell you what, Jared, there's so much cool stuff happening with your program, and I know how busy you are and how many recruits you've had on campus, so I appreciate that. It's got to be a pretty exciting time though. Has school started yet already? You guys back at it yet?
Just started Monday. So
That's awesome. Most schools around the country have already gone back, or they're about to go back tomorrow. So what a great time of year, especially with everything you have going on. Congrats on your new job. Congrats on the success of the program and what's ahead. I look forward to coming to the final era of Comets D3 ball. I look forward to get, and when you're D2, I'm still going to come. So I look forward to watching the transition. What do you have? Close us out here, Jared. You've got a lot of people from your campus watching this, from the ASC, around Division III. What are your final thoughts you'd like to share on the QCast with those tuning in today?
Last thing I'd want to share, man, is just how much I appreciate you having me on here before we do make that move and you D3 guys forget about us and pretend we never existed. I love Division III basketball. I love I love your podcast here. I listen to the DataCast guys. There's so much great information out there and great support for Division III. It's just such a great level. I've already said I think it's the most pure level of college athletics that's still around. So I appreciate all that you do, all those other guys do with the D3 hoops guys and the QCast or the DataCast guys, and
Absolutely.
and all the guys that are doing awesome stuff for Division III. we have unbelievable kids here. As you know, as much invested you are in the Illinois Wesleyan guys, our kids are unbelievable. We had 4 kids with 1,500 SATs on our roster 2
Yeah.
years ago. They're doing incredible things. They're just incredible people. And I love the level. I love our conference. It's a super competitive conference with some great people in it. And yeah, I just appreciate the support you guys do for us. And I'm disappointed, in some ways we're leaving, but we're excited about the future of UTD athletics and the next journey to Division II and how we can approach that all. So
Well, we'll be rooting for you. And we talked about this being a season finale of QCast season 3. When I was a kid, all the best shows had big cliffhangers as their season finales. Appropriately, like Dallas, like Who Shot JR. I don't think I have a cliffhanger. Maybe just the cliffhanger is how the Comets move to D2 plays out and how these next couple of years go. So, folks, we'll be rooting for Coach Fleming. We wish Coach Butterfield well in his retirement. He's been a great D3 guy and done a ton of things for our division. Jared, thank you so much for joining QCast Season 3, Episode 40, and we'll see you around a gym very soon, my friend, okay?
thanks, Bob. Appreciate it.
Thanks.